Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from in the United States today. Really appreciate you taking time to be with YASH Technologies and SAP as we focus on field service management and executive roundtable in the digital world that we live in now. We've got a great panel of industry experts that will walk you through what field service management looks like in 2021, some of the advancements that we have encountered over the last year to year and a half, and most importantly, what does field service management look like as we go forward, and specifically around SAP's field service management. My name is John Gretter. I'm Vice President of the YASH Technologies SAP service line. And as I said, I'll be introducing the panelists in just a moment. Want to just give you a couple of housekeeping items, and that's in the chat function on the webinar. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to drop them into that chat function, and we'll do our absolute best to answer them during the webinar today. If we don't get to them during the webinar, we will be sure to circle back and get those questions answered to you after the webinar. So without further ado, I'll take a few moments and bring in our panelists one at a time and allow them to introduce themselves, why they're passionate about field service management, and their experience behind field service management as a solution. So Moise, if you would kindly join me, and we'll turn it over to you for your introduction to today's attendees.
Oh, thank you so much, John. Thanks for having me on this panel, first of all. Just by means of introduction, again, my name is Moise Nimachwala. I currently serve as the Chief Transformation Officer at Right Height Corporation. We are a mid-sized company across the globe, servicing a whole bunch of industrial Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies. And as a result, we have hundreds of techs or technicians that service our products across different regions across the globe. And so, when we talk about field service in general, this is a topic that is close to heart. As we within Right Height are going through a transformation journey, these are some of the aspects that we would want to transform, and field service would be one of them. From my experiences, I worked in the past with companies like Rockwell Automation and Stanley Black & Decker. We've had similar needs in terms of field service. My passion mostly lies around data, around IoT and machine learning, and field service is right for technologies like this to help enhance that overall technician experience as well. So, with that, thanks for having me on this webinar.
And Moise, I have got to say, with your passion being in data, machine learning, and IoT, you are perfectly positioned to how the world has evolved over the past year or so. So you're in good shape for the long haul, my friend.
Absolutely, yeah. Looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah, Aaron, glad that you were able to join as well. If you please introduce yourself to the audience.
Sure. Thank you, John. Thank you for the opportunity to join you. Everyone, my name is Aaron Chapiga. I've been in field service for since 1994. Got my electrical license in '95, and throughout my career have worked in many different avenues, from working with tools and then in general management. Worked for Stanley Black & Decker as well in service. Was the BPO for service for North America, then moved on to currently where I reside at Johnson Controls as a service leader here. So I appreciate the time, and I'm looking forward to sharing my knowledge with everybody here on the panel.
Yeah, I look forward to all your insights today, Aaron. Thank you.
Thank you.
Like to bring in our partner colleague from SAP, Jeff. If you would be so kind, please join us. Give an introduction and give a little bit of an overview of what the audience can expect to hear from SAP's perspective today.
Yeah, thanks, John, and really appreciate the invitation to participate and with the team here. So, yeah, my name's Jeff Bonnell. I'm part of the Global Center of Excellence for the digital supply chain at SAP, which includes our service and asset management solutions. And that's really my specialty area and background is in asset management and field service. And really, it's a really exciting time from a service perspective, as a lot of traditional product companies are seizing the opportunity to differentiate their brands and their go-to-market approach based on service and their overall customer experience. It's changing business models. And one of the things hopefully I'll have a chance to talk about and share with you today is some of the ways the platforms and technologies can really help enable the transformations these companies are going through to move to a more service-focused model, and also how those platforms can help bring together all of the different participants in that network of whether it's the original equipment manufacturers, the owner-operators running the equipment, the service providers, as the lines are really blurring between responsibilities, and there's a tremendous amount of collaboration happening across the organization. So hopefully we'll be able to contribute a little bit around how the technology and platforms can help enable that. So thanks for having me today.
Yeah, I know audience is always, and the audience for today will specifically be engaged on collaboration. Anything that we can do to bridge those gaps, Jeff, that's always valuable to the audience. So thank you for bringing that up and getting us primed for that part of the conversation. Last and certainly not least is my colleague from YASH Technologies. Ramesh leads the YASH Technologies field service management area, and he does a fantastic job of doing that. When it comes to subject matter expertise, I'm always amazed at the depth of knowledge that Ramesh has. So Ramesh, I'm going to quit talking about it and let you introduce yourself and let the audience know some of the perspectives that you'll be covering off on today.
Okay, thanks, John. My name is Ramesh Kumbam. I'm the head of the field service management in YASH Technologies. I'm the responsible for helping the customers in North America to support the field service operations perspective, improve the field service operation efficiency. And there are many applications across the field service, but my focus is more into field services and improve the field service efficiency for the different customers in North America.
Perfect, Ramesh, thank you very much. And as we move out of the introduction phase and get into the exciting part of the webinar, and that's the content itself, from the audience perspective, what you can expect is we're gonna walk through a series of different topics or questions that we'll use to just get the conversation flowing. What is meant to happen here is just to have a more of an executive roundtable feel, to where each and every one of our panelists engages with one another on these topics and the perspectives that they bring to that topic, especially when we get that flavor of what SAP's field service management solution looks like, and Jeff will be able to speak to that. Ramesh adding it from a partner perspective with YASH Technologies. But I know for me, what I love about these executive roundtable webinars is what we can learn from our client partners out there, and what Moise and Aaron, what you can bring in the industry itself. I mean, using field service management and engaging that with clients, and knowing what the pros and quite honestly some of the areas for improvement could be, and those are the things that the audience can take away in a very valuable way from our webinar today. So without further ado, let's jump into the content itself. And Moise, you were brave enough to say, John, I'll be the first one to go. I'll take the first question in the webinar. So you definitely get the gold star today for being the brave soul to kick it off. But when I heard about what you're passionate about, it doesn't surprise me, because it lines up very well with one of the areas that you're very passionate about. And that's how IoT is enhancing field services and really revolutionizing the field service industry. So give us an overview of how you see that, Moise, and then Aaron, Jeff, Ramesh, feel free to jump in afterwards with any perspectives of your own as well.
Yeah, absolutely, John. So, when you look at IoT, the aspect around Internet of Things, what you're really doing is you are bringing in capabilities of putting some level of eyes and ears on your products, which you are trying to service at the customer site, right? So when you have these sensors sitting at the customer location, you are now able to, the IoT ecosystem as such is now capable of sending you information back from what is happening at the customer side. And that is really important. That is really valuable in terms of where and how IoT can really change in the way field service is managed. So right now, if you think about field service, you're trying to be, you're trying to get to your customer in a way where you are doing some level of maintenance for the customer every few months. You want to you're trying to make sure that nothing fails for the customer. But when you talk about these Internet of Things devices, when you talk about these sensors, what it does is gives you an ability to collect real-time data about how your products are functioning, right? And whether you collect it on a regular basis, whether you collect in intervals or consistently across the board, it's basically what it gives you is a capability of looking at how your products are functioning, right? And when you are able to see that, what that tells you is, number one is how my product is functioning. Number two is detect any level of failures that can happen. And in a way, what that also does is it helps you design your products better. But from a field service standpoint, it helps you to resolve issues much faster, right? So when you look at all these sensors and you are getting that data back from your sensors, what you've now been able to do is, as a culmination of this data set, as a culmination of all these sensors, you can identify the root cause much faster. And if you're able to identify the root cause for products that cannot be easily, exchanged easily in the field, if you have the root cause faster, you're now able to get to a resolution in a very timely manner as compared to seeing that happen over days. Right? So what that has done is, in a way, reduced the amount of time to resolution, reduced the mean time to repair as such, and in a way also given you an ability to serve your customers much better, right? If your products are able to tell you that this could be the root cause of what has failed, your technician could go out with the right tools to fix that product. And so what we are seeing is that once you have that capability, you are able to fix the product the first time the technician shows up. So the technician is not showing up over and over again, first to diagnose what the problem is, next time to fix it, and things like that. Here, you have been able to collect that information, you know what is the root cause, and as a result, your first visit is a visit to fix the issue. So IoT in general, right, the ability to bring all this information together at the back end, right, it gives you a possibility of not just understanding what is going wrong, but also from the back end, help from a remote asset management standpoint as well. And in all of this, what the outcome really is how are you able to satisfy your customer, right? How are you able to make sure that your customer is up and running consistently without failures, right? Because any failures, any downtime is money left on the table, right? And you are basically enabling these devices to tell you what is wrong, and as a result, help you fix it much faster. So the bottom line here is that, number one, you are enabling your technicians to be much more efficient, and as a result, be more productive. But also, from a bottom line standpoint, you are looking at additional savings for your own operations as well. So IoT in general is a very powerful tool, which is being adopted in a very fast orders of magnitude, in a way where it is affecting and it is improving the way field service is managed. So I think as a whole, the solution that IoT brings together is is something that is very valuable for this industry, and I believe this is only going to grow as we move forward.
And I have to imagine, Moise, the thing that really caught my attention is when you talked about getting it right, you're getting it fixed the first time and not having to have the technician go out multiple times. When we think about end users and then bring it into our own lives, if we have to have which is really important in the last year, say the internet, the Wi-Fi repair person, or your Wi-Fi is down and you have to have the repair person come in and they don't get it fixed the first time, they got to come back again and they still don't get it fixed right, or they have to order a part and they can't come back for another week. All of that just leads to increased angst and decreased customer satisfaction. So if we can leverage IoT to fix things right the first time, that's just going to go to raising our end user satisfaction even higher. So to me, in what you just shared, that was the one thing that really caught my attention and made me say, oh, I want to learn more about what Moise is talking about, because the end game here is, how do we fix it? How do we make the client happy? And how do we limit the disruption as much as possible? So with that said, Aaron, Jeff, Ramesh, anything to add from your perspectives?
No, I think there's a lot of different things that Moise just touched on. I think one of the things, Internet of Things, would be also communications with the customer and how they, they have real-time information coming through from the customer on their maybe hours of operation, things like that. All that can be pulled in.
And some of the issues which we no need to send the technician, which can be done remotely. So that way we can use our field service team efficiently than instead of sending the technician. So some of the issues which can be done, some software upgrades are then that can be done from remotely, resolve the customer issues and improve the customer satisfaction.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point, Ramesh, and agree with everything everyone has said, especially around enabling customer self-service, enabling remote support. And we saw those trends happening a lot before the pandemic, and they were really accelerated with the pandemic. And I think we'll see that continuing going forward. And John touched on customer satisfaction. And I think there's a very strong relationship between the amount of effort a customer has to put into getting an issue resolved and their satisfaction level. I may just add one additional point as well. From an SAP perspective, one of the things we're really trying to do, and I mentioned the network earlier, is try and connect that ecosystem of folks together. I mean, Moise talked about the product information feeding back to continuously improve the product design, but having a platform to sort of collaborate on the actual performance of the equipment can also help, especially if you're connecting to third-party service providers or others that you're relying on to help ensure the performance of the equipment. It can really help facilitate ensuring that you as the equipment manufacturer, your customer, as well as the service providers have full visibility to that information. And that's just an additional kind of layer onto everything Moise said about reducing the response time, improving first-time fix rates, and everything else.
Thanks, Jeff. And Jeff touched on the trends that we were seeing before the pandemic and how they were just accelerated during the pandemic, which is a wonderful segue to our next topic and transitioning over to Aaron. And Aaron, that topic is two parts. And my ask is obviously cover the first part, but the value to the audience is really going to be in the second part of this topic. And the first part is, what are those common field service challenges that the industry or us as practitioners experienced during the pandemic? So that's the first part. The second part, and kind of that light bulb or aha moment that we'll experience, is how can cutting edge technology help overcome these challenges?
Yeah, thanks, John. So, I mean, some of the pandemic problems with obviously buildings closing. That was what I touched on with Moise, where you've got to know real time what the customer's hours of operations are. Are there restrictions for you to come in? Is there PPE requirements now with this, masks and shields and everything else? So, we need to know that ahead of time. Testing, something that's available or needed to be done before you go on site. So there's a lot of challenges there. And, with the Internet of Things, like Moise was saying, I think that could be pulled in pretty easily in real time, so that we can take away the human interaction, if you would, and know things ahead of time so somebody can just prepare for that. I mean, that's for as far as the pandemic. The second piece of it, with our field services, the technician having the right equipment, the right parts, to do the job and understand the problem ahead of time is huge. If you think about all of our coordinators, schedulers, people that work on a daily basis, they have to field customer calls continuously and understand it's a ever-changing dynamic service. You have different skill sets with different field personnel. You have to understand that. You have to understand routing. You have to understand all of the pieces. Make sure that the service personnel is being routed most efficiently, has the right skill to do the work, and then the equipment, and a little bit of a heads up and what could the problem possibly be. So I think with some of the technology that we have out there, obviously that can be overcome and give that scheduler more time to be more customer centric, so that they're not trying to manipulate that in their mind and take that last minute customer call that just came in and they have something else scheduled, and they've got to figure out who can go to that place at the time and get that job done. Instead, take that away from them, build that into a system so that they can understand, hey, I have an opportunity here in front of me that I can have this service personnel take care of this customer on a timely basis, and it's right around the corner, as opposed to my original scheduled call, which is right down, a few towns away. I can have them take care of this quickly, and we can still take care of the next one. So adding that I'm reducing that mean time to repair and adding that additional call per day could be huge.
Yeah, to me, Aaron, it sounds like what you're explaining to the audience is allowing the technology to take a lot of the preparation off of the technician's shoulders and allowing the technicians to really focus on that solutioning aspect of their role. So they're there making sure that they're taking care of the client. They're not spending that valuable time preparing for that call, or maybe even preparing for the next call. And the technology allows them to match the problem to having the right resources on the truck, or having the right scanning tools on the truck. Whatever that might be, they're prepared, they're ready to execute. We'll tie that thread back to what Moise talked about with IoT, and you brought up as well. How do we ensure we're fixing it right the first time? How do we ensure we're giving that customer-centric experience that meets or exceeds their expectations? So I couldn't agree more, Aaron, and appreciate the insights there. Anybody else like to add anything on top of what Aaron shared with the audience?
John, the only thing I'd like to just add to that was the fact that your schedulers, or the people that are doing this, on a daily basis, it opens up their time too, as well, not just the technicians. Now you've got somebody that you can repurpose and follow up with customers. Hey, how did we do? Is there anything else needed? And do you need a sales call? Is there something we can pass along to our sales representatives to do an upgrade, things like that? So I think that's
a lot of opportunity for efficiencies. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Efficiencies across the board.
This is across the board efficiencies, exactly, right? There is a lot of potential, a lot of available opportunities as such when you look at the overall workflow and thinking about IoT, thinking about machine learning, bringing it together and identifying these areas of automation really could help with field service in general.
Perfect. Thanks, Moise. Well, I'm gonna transition briefly now and go over to our colleague from SAP, Jeff. And Jeff, we're gonna get specific here from an SAP perspective and ask you to explain, how does SAP's field service management simplify proactive maintenance with IoT again? So we're gonna go back to one of Moise's passions here. With IoT, deliver the best customer experience.
Yeah, so I think just checking if I'm off mute here. So I think when we look at this, we kind of look at the sort of the maturity of customers as well as they evolve to a more service-focused approach. So we see a lot of cases where from an SAP perspective, we're able to respond, the system's able to recognize alerts and triggers that identify a need for maintenance or service in the first place. Augmenting that, providing the tools and capabilities for the technician when they arrive. Maybe for a security reason, the machine data is not available outside of the facility, but they're able to capture and run some diagnostics at the edge. So from a platform perspective, we really try and ensure that the system and people are as aware as possible what the need is, what the issue is, and really support that from kind of end-to-end process, tying into the equipment trigger, using that to generate the demand, what's required, making sure the right skills and people and parts and equipment and tools are available to execute the job. And again, making sure the machine data that may be required for troubleshooting is available either remotely or on site. So that's one aspect of it. I also think that beyond those sort of basics, when we look at moving to a more prescriptive or proactive model, there's a lot of other benefits we see our customers really starting to be able to capture. So one is, by having that underlying platform in place, they're also able to keep their customers informed of progress in a hands-free way. So if you have some self-service capabilities that the customer is able to log in, they can see in real time what's actually happening, when the person's going to arrive, when they're likely to be finished. And that further frees up your technicians, your supervisors, your call center people from having to manually interact. And we've also seen a lot of cases where that predictive can be used to help with prioritization of jobs. So again, further optimizing the schedule. And we're seeing cases where companies are able to capture back an entire day per week per scheduler, just by putting some of this automation in place, which is my colleagues were saying really can help free them up for more value-added services. The one additional thing that from an SAP perspective, we're focusing a lot on to enable, because our customers are really trying to move towards a model where there are many of them where they're not necessarily selling a piece of equipment and an aftermarket service contract. They're selling a complete solution where instead of selling a piece of air conditioning equipment, they're selling building control or comfort or cooled air. We see a lot of that with equipment manufacturers as well. And we believe and see that enabling a tie-in with IoT to a more predictive model is really critical for that to be a successful and profitable model. Because if you're selling your products based on output and outcome, again, you don't want to be over maintaining or under maintaining that equipment. You want the absolute maximum uptime and availability and minimum service cost, not only for customer satisfaction, but also for your own service profitability. So that's one of the key areas where that we're enabling many customers with from a platform perspective. Just to share a few thoughts. So.
And Jeff, that a lot of what you brought up dovetailed nicely with what we've heard from Moise and Aaron in their first engagements with the audience. And one thing that I really caught, you talked about communication to the client, and Aaron brought that up towards the beginning of the webinar, how exceedingly important communication is at the core of field service management, and making sure that you're communicating with that end user. To me, and again, I'll put myself in the seat of an end user. I know when I'm adequately communicated with, I go into that appointment already feeling far more satisfied than when I don't know what to expect. And the more information I can have as the end user, I'm already in a position where I want to work with that technician instead of maybe being a little perturbed going into that engagement when I have no idea what the expectations are. So really encouraging to hear what you just shared about SAP's field service management solutions and how they can be a key component of actively engaging with our clients and driving once again to having that best in class experience and having that really as a bedrock, having SAP at the core of that. So, but before we move on to Ramesh and have him cover off on his topic, just looking to see if there's any reactions or any questions of Jeff that Moise, Aaron, either of you have, or Ramesh that you have for Jeff.
The one comment I would make is, to Jeff's point about, top line growth. The other way to look at this is also from a thought process around how you provide your service level agreements. There are going to be customers who sign agreements with you, and you're making sure that the equipment that they have is up and running consistently. You go in every 3 months and you service the piece of equipment as such. But you can also, through the capabilities that these technologies open up along with these back-end systems, what it also does is there are going to be customers who are not looking for service to you. And by being proactive, by being predictive, you basically can provide these smaller or per need basis service agreements where it is much more palatable for the customer to accept those level of agreements, right? And these are the customers which you would now sign up, which you never did in the past. So you're talking in terms of top line growth as well there.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. So, and with maybe a centralized platform approach, you can support the larger agreements with SLAs, but also you can scale down and you have a much better visibility and predictability to your ability to execute on those things. So yeah, absolutely. So.
Thanks, Moise. And doing a quick time check for the panelists and for our audience out there, we're just across the halfway point of the time we had allotted for today's webinar. And I've got to get to my man Ramesh, because he's been patiently waiting at the bottom of my screen here, and I can tell he wants to get into this topic. And I'll share from my vantage point. When we put together the webinar and Ramesh shared some of the different topics we were going to cover, this one really caught my attention because I wasn't sure what it was or how it could potentially benefit clients out there. And Ramesh, I'm excited for you to share with the audience what crowd service is and how SAP's crowd service empowers field service organizations to manage their external partners.
Yeah, sure, John. Crowd service solution. What is the crowd service solutions? This crowd service solutions enables the companies to establish the marketplace for the external specialists, certified partners, and freelancers, which is like Uber like a field service model. So crowd service creates the pool of skilled service technicians, consist of your employees, subsidiaries, and partners and freelancers. And crowd service solution from SAP help the organizations to extend field service pool for the faster customer service as well as the improve the customer experience. And this gig economy is growing, and the demand for the flexible employment is rising, and freelancing is becoming a more popular way of working. So even companies also looking for the their field service operation efficiency perspective and also reducing their cost. So using this crowd service solution, service organizations can extend their service workplace to respond to real time to the service request. And also this SAP crowd service application, which is embedded with the artificial intelligence capabilities, so which is analyze the each request when there is then identify the which subcontractor is available, and also appropriate technician is available based on the expertise, location, and availability. And also, if you look at the proliferation of the Internet of Things, everything has been faster and more connected, and service customers expect the real-time response. Many organizations are hindered by limited availability of the service technicians. So this SAP service crowd service solution help the customers to build their own ecosystem of experts and field service technicians and even subcontractors, enabling them to increase the geographical coverage and provide the faster service to the field, which Moise mentioned that, which is also improves the shorten the waiting period and also improves the mean time to break down and mean time to repair also. And these crowd service solution integrated with the marketplace whenever the service request has been created, and which is immediately send the job notification to the participant technicians in that network. And also these technicians can, even third-party vendors or subcontractors can easily to access the internal company manuals, tutorials, videos, as well as the customer specific information or equipment related specific information to getting the job done quickly and efficiently. And this SAP crowd pulling tool is designed for the companies, all the industries. So which also helps the technicians to installation perspective, maintenance perspective, and repair perspective. It is not only limited to one area, which is even we can use the external third-party vendors for the install, maintain, and repair process perspective also. And also, which is these industries includes discrete manufacturing, industrial manufacturing, as well as high-tech and medical device companies also. So this crowd solution, which is very robust to see the progress of the subcontractors, where they are, and what is the service ticket progress to the entire life cycle of the service.
Awesome, thanks Ramesh. Before we move back to Moise, any other comments or additional information any other panelists would like to add on to what Ramesh just shared?
Maybe just one real quick comment on the crowd side. We've also seen a lot of customers use it as a mechanism to enter new markets quickly. So we have a company that does battery storage for renewable energy products across Asia. And it's a very competitive market. Lots of small communities are trying to become more energy independent with their own generating capabilities. So the battery storage market is exploding, very, very competitive. And they can't grow their own service team fast enough for doing installs and maintenance and everything else. So they've built a service crowd in areas they can't get to really help accelerate their goal of capturing market share before their competitors without necessarily having to build up their own team. So it's another another layer on what Ramesh was talking about. So
perfect. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think both Ramesh and Jeff bring up. I think from a gig economy standpoint, right, with with the way, with the lack of availability of technicians, right? How do we leverage some of the subcontractors to do some of these, some of the work as well, and how do we use these capabilities to bring them together? So I mean, that's a great point, something that I'll have to think about as well, which I have not thought about, but then I guess this panel discussion will help me think about this along those lines as well. So thank you for that.
See, Moise, you're getting more out of being on this panel than you might have bargained for.
No, absolutely.
So moving on to the next topic, and Moise and Jeff, both of you have some really interesting perspectives on this next topic. I'm going to start with Moise, but then Jeff, I'm going to transition or ask to transition to you right after that, and I'll break it down so you both can be prepared for what to cover off on. Moise, and this is going back to what you shared you were passionate about during your introduction, and that's how are machine learning and artificial intelligence driving field service innovation? So that's what I'm going to ask that you share on. But then Jeff, as soon as Moise is done, ask you to come in over the top of that with some SAP specific advantages of new technologies like artificial intelligence, augmented reality, machine learning, and how SAP is specifically leveraging those in field service management. So Moise, if you would take it from machine learning and AI perspective, from innovation, then we'll go to Jeff from the SAP take.
Absolutely, thanks, John. I mean, when you look at Internet of Things, it becomes a source of your data where this in the whole cliche, data being the oil, the new oil as such, it is bringing in more data sets, and the ability to then run machine learning algorithms, whether it's simple algorithms like regression algorithms or advanced algorithms like neural networks, right? Whichever way you go, it basically takes this IoT and puts it on steroid. Now, what you're doing now is that you are figuring out trends, you're figuring out interactions between devices, you are looking at ways in which you can predict what is going on up front, right? So you can take these data sets, you can learn a lot more beforehand as these products are being prepared, as a manufacturer, and then taking it to the field and selling those products, right? So what that does is, you've taken these machine learning tools and you have now given yourself an ability to predict what will happen, which in a way really opens up lots of gates for you, right? First of all, you can service your customer before the customer knows if something is going to go bad, right? So, which is a significant value add, right? I mean, if you think about it, if I have a line that is down, it's just not acceptable, right? That's just money lost. You're just burning the money at that point. And in this case, you are coming in and saying, listen, we feel that as an interaction between these sensors and these data sets, I've been able to figure out that this machine can go bad over a certain period of time, right? And as a result, if you have a certain downtime coming up, or something that will help us repair something in the equipment, this is something you want to do. And the customer, if you think about what the customer is thinking, I mean, that's at a completely different level now. Now, customer is just looking at you as as an expert, as someone who really cares about me as a customer, and as a result, your relationship with these customers is at a different level. You are on front of mind when you're talking about the next generation of products you want to buy, and the customer experience as such is completely enhanced. Right? So if you look at machine learning, this gives you a whole different perspective around where you can take this data and how you can implement the data to just completely, in a way, revolutionize how customer service is done, and that customer service includes field service as well. So it's a significant technology that can really enhance the overall experience. And it's a matter of time. A lot of these companies are now providing you abilities to do machine learning in a very simpler fashion. And as you look at SAP, or if you look at any of the other providers as such, these tools are now far more easily available, and you don't need specialists to run some of these machine learning tools, right? So that has really opened up the overall thought process, and I just feel that as we look at IoT being one step forward in terms of field service, but then machine learning takes it to the next level, right? So it's all coming together really well, and as we look forward, I think with Jeff here on the line as well, he can add more light on it. But this is a technology which will really help us significantly from a field service standpoint.
Yeah, no, that's great. I agree with everything you've said, and it feels, I mean, it feels more accessible to everybody now. It's becoming much more accessible to everybody. Maybe I just give a couple examples from an SAP perspective. So when we talk about AI, or we talk about sort of algorithms, one of the biggest applications for field services is in automated scheduling. And we've taken a very maybe a unique approach with auto scheduling, of course, able to look at routing from a travel times and availability and skill set and all of the standard things that most people will use to try and optimize their schedules. And we have customers that are optimizing tens of thousands, 50,000 jobs a night for tens of thousands of technicians. So, but in addition to that, we have a lot of customers, and our approach to auto scheduling with AI basically if you have data, we can use it as part of the auto scheduling. So we call these auto scheduling plugins, and they're tailored specifically to our customers' unique needs. And some of our customers are fiercely protective of the innovations they've built into their auto scheduling routines. And we see cases now, we have customers, for example, that are servicing offshore wind turbines, and into their auto scheduling routines, just day in, day out, they're including wind forecasting, they're including rainfall, because all of these things are key factors in when people can not only travel to the site, but also when they can do work. So again, they're really able to use the platform to incorporate all of their specific rules above and beyond just the basics, to really drive that more specific, tailored experience. And we're seeing other cases where, again, incorporating SLAs, incorporating prioritization, incorporating, sometimes you have a local city that has different tax laws than the next city over, so you're trying to balance labor costs and all of those kinds of things. So it's really, I think, a really exciting time when we look at auto scheduling and all of the innovations that can be built into that. You also mentioned augmented reality in the introduction. We have some really interesting, so one of the things with field service management, it has an extensibility framework. So we want to make sure our customers and their partners can also innovate on top of the platform. So in a very no code, low code approach, again, making it more accessible, many of our customers are layering in augmented reality technologies into the field service experience. So companies like LibraStream or SiteCall actually just have embedded their apps. Some customers even have used things like Microsoft Teams just seamlessly within the platform to facilitate that remote support, the peer-to-peer networking and collaboration, so that if, for example, the technician on site isn't, maybe they need some help, they can get it from the back office, and that's layered on with augmented reality and additional peer support. The other thing I'll touch on really quickly before I hand it back is around machine learning. And this is another area that when we look at the underlying platform, SAP's business technology platform and the machine learning capabilities. Again, the field service management solution is very open to be able to leverage those platform capabilities to drive improvements in some of the field service management processes. And maybe a couple of examples that we see customers doing quite often is they're looking at predictive parts. So if you have a planner in the back office and they have a service job that's being planned, rather than having them try and figure out what parts are required for that job, that's not planned in a static way. It's using machine learning to recommend what parts are required based on what has historically been required for similar work on that equipment. Another example is skills historically been looked at as a bit binary. Does this person have their gas ticket, or does this person, are they trained on this particular model of machine? But technicians have different levels of expertise. So starting to incorporate who's the preferred technician and tying in things like who has higher customer satisfaction and who's doing the job the fastest. So for higher priority jobs, they're able to incorporate that learning into who gets prioritized by the auto scheduler to get picked for the job. So there's really cool and innovative things that a lot of customers are starting to do with these technologies, and especially now that they're much more accessible in a what we refer to more as a low code or a no code approach to deploying it. So.
And Jeff, thank you. Really appreciate the perspectives on that. Aaron, I know that in our preparation, you had brought up automated scheduling, automated field service scheduling, and specifically how it improves the scheduling and the dispatching. In the next couple of minutes, because we're getting closer to the top of the hour here, just give that perspective at a 30,000-foot view as to how it's impacted you and your organization.
Well, throughout my years in service here, it's impacted quite a bit. I mean, like I said, the fact that you can have those people that normally are scheduling more customer centric is the biggest thing, right? To have them repurposed to make sure that we're doing the job that we're supposed to be doing, and that they're being satisfied and they're being taken care of, and any follow-up is able to be done without, you know, burdening them with the I want to say tribal knowledge task of, you know, what part is he supposed to have, where is he supposed to go, how long is it going to take for him to get there, and does the customer have an SLA that I need to meet? Those kind of things all brought into a machine. It makes them a lot more. It makes them faster. I mean, just look at Wall Street. I mean, back in the day when they were trading on the stock floor, right? Computers do it so much faster, make people so much more money, and they can have more of a customer feel, you know.
So again, and just another one of those things that has been a common theme for me taking away from being engaged with each of you today is how do we use the technology to increase our customer centricity and ultimately increase our end user satisfaction. That's been the big move that I've heard throughout the webinar today, and really where the focus has been pre-pandemic, during pandemic. It's that eye on how do we become as nimble, as agile, and transition that into meeting and exceeding our customers' needs. Perfect. Ramesh, you've got the floor for the last 2 or 3 minutes to wrap this up. And again, if you want to use that to talk about SAP's field service management and how it delivers intelligent self-services, because I know that was your last topic you wanted to cover off on, great. Or if you want to use it on something to respond to of what you've heard from your peers, you use that time as well. Got about 3 minutes.
Yeah, sure. And I would like to talk about intelligent services, and SAP FSM has been integrated with intelligent services, which you mentioned that pandemic has been changed the entire business model, and especially customer service is very critical for the service business, and customers always look for the quick service request create process, less waiting time. But during this pandemic, call waiting has been increased because of the limited customer resources. So SAP came up with the 24/7 self-service model, portal, which can, customers can use the, scan QR code or unique identifier, which takes directly to the self-service portal, so that business partners manage their service requests themselves rather than waiting in the phone queue. And also this will be give the, customers can schedule their appointment with the service technician guided by intelligent chatbot, and also which helps the customers to to resolve some of the issues by themselves, and and also notify the customers and service teams on the progress of the request, which is very transparent view, so customer can see that when the technicians are arriving and whether technician is started or not. So this is very, very robustly built and fully branded with the self-service platforms.
Ramesh, thank you. I appreciate it. Gentlemen, we're going to wrap up here in just a moment, but I do want to open it up. Any final comments from any of you on the panel before we do our thank yous? Good. All right, everybody's talked out. You've used up all your brain power to answer those topic questions, and I appreciate that. To Moise, Aaron, Jeff, and Ramesh, thank you so much for taking time, not just for the webinar today, but for the preparatory sessions and getting prepared to deliver an impactful webinar on field service management to the audience. To our audience members that are out there, very, very much appreciate you carving out an hour in your very busy schedules to join us and hear the insights that our panelists have shared, hear the insights of what SAP has been able to do to put field service management at the forefront as a solution and help their clients solve those everyday problems, and again, position service as the focus of field service management and turn customers into ecstatic customers. So without any more being said, I want to say thank you once again, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. And John, John, one thing is I just wanted to bring last note, so that we are also, John and Jeff and myself, we are working on some sessions and demos for next month. So we will going to broadcast and publish to everybody. So about the functionality, SAP FSM functionality perspective. Perfect. We'll look forward to those, Jeff and Ramesh. Thank you. Again, thanks everybody for your time. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.